Season one. Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. I'm gonna let the ladies go ahead and introduce themselves. Carmel, you want to go, and then Shelly?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I am Carmel Jean-Francois. I am your girl, your health and wellness, fitness and nutrition coach. I work with I work with people who have come to realize that they might be addicted to food, might be addicted to sugar, and I help them by guiding them to lifestyle, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. I'm stumbling on my words, folks. Excuse me. In order to combat that addiction and also the chronic conditions that come along with it. And I'm here to urge everybody to add more plants to your plate. Go ahead, Shelly.
And I am Shelly A. Carter out of New Jersey, the founder of Housing Ministry LLC. In those walls, I use my real estate banking and life insurance licenses to help make home ownership attainable and sustainable. I work specifically with people to stop foreclosure, and just for fun, whenever I'm given the chance, I tune into how to monetize that real estate as well. Maisha?
Hey everybody, my name is Maisha. I'm also known online as Devi Maisha. I am the Sensual Energy Alchemist. I am a master life coach, teacher of sensuality, and I'm really here to guide Black women out of shame and fear when it comes to intimacy and sex, and into confidence and power from the bedroom to the boardroom. And speaking of that, the topic today is it okay for us to be angry with our parents? And I thought about this topic because I've got this masterclass coming up, and it's really around the religious, societal, and cultural restrictions that have been put on us as women. And then I read this article that not kind of, that helped me feel like vindicated, because sometimes it sounds crazy to say, oh, you need to feel into your body, and the whole entire world is like in the head, in the head, in the head, which is beautiful, but we're just forgetting from the neck down. So I'm going to read a little bit from the article throughout the time, but what I want to start off with so it's from this site called fiercebymetoo.com, and I'll plug the link to the article as well. And the article is how being silently pissed off is fueling autoimmune disorders in women of color. And in the article, it says new research has uncovered why women are much more prone to autoimmune disorders. Stanford medicine scientists and their colleagues found that a molecule made by an X chromosome in every female cell can generate antibodies against a woman's own tissues. And Dr. Gabor Mate, who I absolutely love, and he is like one of the experts on the body and somatic work and trauma, or big trauma, little trauma, whatever. What he was saying is that it is often the nice people who end up having an autoimmune response in the body. And another psychologist said, my clients are mostly women, and nearly all of them struggle with a fear of disappointing others. Our culture rewards women for being perpetually pleasant, self-sacrificing, and emotionally in control. And it can feel counterintuitive for my clients to say no or firmly assert their wants and needs. And lastly, I'll say this, and I'll come back to some of this later. Women account for almost 80% of autoimmune diseases that are out here in the world today. So the reason why I titled this, though, is it okay for us to be angry with our parents, is because as girls, we are definitely like, it's okay. As we grow up, it's okay for us to be angry at exes sometimes. Like, yeah, that person did X, Y, and Z to me, or maybe a friend. But still, especially in the Black community, because we have this respect factor that has put on us, and shame and guilt that has been given to us, that we harbor hidden anger and resentment toward our caregivers. And I think that is part of what is also fueling the rise in autoimmune issues in women, because we're not supposed to say, I'm angry with my mother, or I'm angry with my father, there's guilt that goes along with that, even if it happens to be true. And so I wanted to ask you all what your thoughts on what I just said about us having hidden anger towards our parents, either yourself or Black women, and the fact that, this nice girl, good girl routine is literally killing us. What are your thoughts?
Who, me, you? Who's going first, Carmel? Okay, she's like, I'll give me a minute.
I
So
know you got stuff to say. we all do. We all do.
I've not only been mad with my mother, I've been mad with my family, I've been mad with my caregivers, my educators, and there's all these rules. You're a girl. You're the only girl. You're the first grandchild. You're, you're the whatever. You've got to be the one to set the example. Who said that? What if I don't want to? So you're indicted into this rule. I remember when my dad was dying, you've got to make sure your mom's okay because and like, okay, but hey dad, when I talk to him next time, who was supposed to make sure that I was okay?
Mm.
So you forgot you didn't make a whole bunch of babies. You didn't go adopt any. You could have gone and kind of got a couple of extra side chicks to make some backup for me. You didn't do any of those things. You just left me here alone in the world and told me it was my responsibility to continue to lead and being 100% appropriate. And somewhere along the lines, you know, after even when my first marriage didn't work out, we've grown to a friendly relationship now, but it was automatically assumed that it must have been me. Now, how do I keep this on topic? It's because God forbid, it's the woman's job to find the balance. You're supposed to make it work. You're supposed to forgive whatever slight thing. And again, it's this conversation. You want me to take care of everyone, who's taking care of me. And I've had a couple of medical incidents. I've had a couple of very powerful conversations where not one, not two, but maybe three or so. I didn't ask you to do this. I didn't ask you to do that. Okay, you are so right. And so growing up again, because I don't know which version I'm on. I think I'm on 3.0 right now. When I get to 70, I'll let 4.0 out, and I plan for her to be ridiculous, but ridiculous in a good way. She is going to be all of the things that I am ready to go do. I know what version 4 looks like. I see her in her bikini with her muscles hanging out with Carmel, and I'm able to be in this version 3 because I did get mad with my family, because when it was said to me, I was finally, there's a parable story about the dog on the nail. The story goes something along the lines of, a young man went to go visit an old man, and he had a dog, and the dog was wailing. And the old man said, "Oh, ain't nothing wrong with him. He's just over there sitting on a nail." And the young man is so concerned. Well, help him. He can help himself. All he's got to do is get up off the nail. So the dog's just wailing, 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 and young
Mm.
confused. And I was like, again, young man, that dog is fine. He must want that pain, because all he has to do to fix it is get up off the nail, stand up, and walk away. The
Mm.
food and the energy that I've been absorbing lately has absolutely told me to tell everyone who will hear, you get to be mad with everyone that you want to or need to, including yourself,
Mhm.
and then make a decision to do something about it. I am not the one who's going to stand there and fight with you. I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I'm going to have conversations if possible. But if I find we can't communicate, I am simply going to get off that nail and go move into my next world. I am tired of being appropriate. I am tired of fitting into the role. I don't want to be the good wife. I don't want to cook dinner. I don't want to clean the house. I want to go grab my baby and play and have enough money to go do whatever I want to do. If I'm with my spouse, I want to go to the best restaurant. And to me, this role that they fit us in from the plantation, because I know my family's roots to a point. That plantation role, that house chick, where you're supposed to be there waiting on them, whoever them was, hand and foot,
Mhm.
that my family passed that down. So it was either you were the assigned one, you are the oldest one, or you are the only one. I wound up fitting so many of those buckets. And you've got someone here who is presently so deep into healing and revising and releasing all of that BS. So if someone is telling me fair and balanced that they're feeling stressed because weight is being put on them that they did not agree to, then I say you have all the permission in the world to be tired, angry, and release yourself from that assignment. Because if you did not agree to it, then we are not in a contract. So that means I can go do what I need to do, not release my responsibilities, because we all have responsibilities that we see that we accept silently. But there's no contract that I think any of us should accept where we should pull ourselves to the point of death. Because if I die today, they are all still going to be okay. And they're going to say, too bad she didn't take better care of herself
Yep.
so she could be here. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
So I plan on being here. I want you to be here. So if you are here listening to my rant, understand the world will continue without you. So if you want to be in the world, you're not tired of life, then start living it now for you. Because those people, if they're going to have their best life and you want that to be something you're a part of, mask on you first.
Yeah.
That's
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Carmel, did you want to chime in? Is it okay for us to be angry with our parents? You muted.
I'm gonna say, of course, right? Because we're not only are we human, but they were human too.
Mhm.
Um, they were human. They are human. They're human, right? That's what we're dealing with here. And interestingly enough, I feel like although my parents did their best, I still feel like there was a lack of courage on their part to raise me and my sister and my brother in a way that would prepare us for the world. Right?
Mm.
And I think that if they took heed, so all this insight that Shelley has learned throughout her years, and she just dropped it, and the way you just eloquently spoke it, Shelley, I know at some point my parents went through that. We all do as human beings navigating this world, navigating this earth, our community, society. We gain certain insights and knowledge, especially if you, my parents were brilliant, my father was brilliant. Mom was trying to take care of three kids, right? But at some point there was insight, there was knowledge, there was that coming of age that I feel like they neglected to impart on us and guide us in that particular direction. And I don't care how old you are, I feel like I'm always going to need my mom. I'm always going to need. I wasn't ready for my mom to be not be a part of my life. Was she nagging at times? Of course. But I feel like I missed opportunities for me to converse with her and experience life with her as an adult. And so I still feel unprepared for the world. I still feel like a little kid, like looking for her mom and looking for the guidance that only a dad can provide. And I remember my mother telling me which boxes I had to fit into as a young lady, right? She spent so much time in telling me what was appropriate to do, what appropriate behavior looked like, and what inappropriate behavior looked like, and to do that. She didn't teach us how strong we could be. And my mother was the strongest woman that I ever knew. And I only knew that because I watched her, as opposed to her telling me this is how, like, can you imagine a mom teaching her young girl's daughter the power of a woman?
Mm. Yeah.
The power of a woman. And our aunts, our moms, they knew it. They learned it. Started probably dabbling with it in their teen years, puberty. I know I did. And then to understand the power of a woman in the bedroom, outside of the bedroom, at work, and for her not to convey that to me.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like there's such a disservice there. And I vowed if I ever had girls that they would know and understand their power in this world and not have to navigate it for themselves. And of course, there are things that we're always going to have to experience to learn, of course. However, I'm a little angry about that. I'm a little angry that she withheld things, although I know it was coming from. She's just afraid for her girls, right? That we wouldn't fall victim to the treachery that's out there, to a lot of the things that are out there that are pretty much devised to be these traps for young girls, innocent and not knowing the world. So although I get it, there's a part of me that's like, we could have done better, Mom. And although I forgive her, because you guys, I love my mother to death. Although I forgive her, but yeah, there was that aspect of it, and certain other things like putting so much emphasis on school education and not so much inner education, right? And I know my mother had a sense of selfness and spirituality, just because of who we are as a people, Haitian people, dabbling in the supernatural forces, if I'll say, and there was that aspect of it too, and it was strong, and it was definitely felt in our home, in my cousins, that was a part of our culture. And I feel like there were certain things that she held from us with regard to that as well. And what I'm really mad about is that my mom never taught me how to sew. Why didn't you teach me how to sew? Like, you taught me how to cook, taught me how to iron, taught me how to do laundry, but you never taught me how to sew. I wish I knew how to sew. Anyway, that's
there are people mad at their parents because they got beat and because they called them names. And Carmela's mad because her mother didn't teach her how to sew.
That's right.
Oh, coming from one who had her own belt hook in the closet. Yeah, that one.
I can do a whole thing on that, and how it reinforces shame in Black women and why we're not where we would like to be, but we see that as such a part of our culture that we don't even get mad at our parents for that part.
Yeah, my mother,
we don't touch that.
She was ruthless with the belt, and yeah, Maisha, that was the furthest thing from my mind. It's interesting that you just brought that up.
We make jokes about it, like.
Is that a defense mechanism? Is that part of our?
It is, and that's why the reason why I asked about, is it okay for us to be angry with our parents, is because if we think about, so I was watching this a video. I follow this somatic therapist, and she's doing this interview with this Black man, and he's talking about how he grew up in a very nice home, but there was a sense of, and this is like, people think like, oh, we're nitpicking at stuff. It's not that we're nitpicking at stuff, but it helps us to understand ourselves better. And he was saying that while he grew up in a nice home, I mean, from all intents and purposes, it was fine. There was emotional neglect for him. His parents, like what he needed, he didn't, necessarily get. And that's because parents don't always know, right? That's the part of the grace and forgiveness. Like there's no perfection here. But when I think about, like, especially in our community, the way some of us were disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
and if if you could think back to being 4 or 5 years old, what it must feel like to feel so powerless, and to have the person who you love most in the world inflict this amount of pain on you, but you can't be angry with them because you need them for survival. What does that actually do in terms of your own power as a woman, and then how you move in the world? And then going back to this autoimmune issues. So it says, more than 40 years ago, Harvard psychologist Dana Jack identified that the common pattern among women with depression was a tendency to self-silence. She defined this as the propensity to engage in compulsive caretaking, pleasing the other, and inhibition of self-expression in relationships in an attempt to achieve intimacy and meet relational needs. And in 2020, a team of researchers found an increased incidence of autoimmune diseases in people with high levels of stress and depressive conditions. So if you are raised, for instance, in a space where you're not allowed to express your dislike,
Mm-hmm.
you're just supposed to be grateful for whatever it is you got. You cannot be angry under any circumstances. Otherwise, you will be physically harmed, right? As an adult, now you're wondering why you're dealing with lupus. And part of it, or why you're dealing with depression, or why you're dealing with anxiety, or why you have a business and it's not flourishing, because there's a part of you that has self-worth issues. And
Mm-hmm.
no, we never want to tie it back to some of those things, because it is not really okay for us to be angry with our parents
Wow.
in that way.
Well, it's nice that we're having the conversation. And if I cut you off, I apologize.
No, 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 go ahead.
But I like that we're having the conversation, and I hope it leads to dozens of other conversations. Um, because this concept, I posted something once just about the general concept. If you want respect, you've got to give respect. Or I think I posted something, a repost, this concept that, just because you're my family doesn't mean that you're owed or due respect. And I remember my aunt, my mother's oldest sister, coming back and saying, well, but not your elders and not your mother.
Right.
Like, exactly, my elders, auntie, and exactly my mother. You guys don't get to. I'm not 17 or 16 or 7. I'm 27, 37, 47. One day soon I'll be 57. You may no longer speak to me any way you choose and think that I'm going to accept it. And we need to keep sharing these conversations with each other, because again, I'll say this and give you the mic back. I don't know, it was going on a year or so, but there was a disagreement, and not, a disagreement between the cousins, and the aunt called to scold me for the conversation I'd had. And I was very clear, Auntie, I am not going to disrespect you, but I want you to know I am not your sister, and I'm not available right now for you to talk to me this way. And I listened, I participated, and I said, so I don't choose to participate anymore. I want to wish you a very good night, and I'm going to excuse myself. And I excused myself semi permanently and unapologetically. And I hope we can not only have this conversation tonight, but allow it to evolve so that we can cover more than we're going to cover in this little piece of conversation.
Yeah, and let me just say, because I know people get big on the defenses, and it's, look, we've all said it, I've said it, it's always, well, they were doing the best they could. Of course they were, like, hands down, and they hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm angry about that, and I love them. Like, all of these things can be true at one time, and the reason why I thought this was important is because if we're not able to acknowledge the fact that I love my parents
Mm-hmm.
and I'm angry and they caused me pain, like, to be in your early 20s and to have elder women coming at you, talking about you, the shame that inflicts on you in certain families. Or you're not
Ruthless,
married yet, or you don't
ruthlessly.
have any, right, you don't have any kids, or you look too skinny, or you're putting on weight. Like, and we don't, it's like we can't be, when you're not supposed to be angry, right? And so what they found, and the reason why this is important is because it leads to health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a team of researchers from the University of Pittsburgh found that women of color who strongly agreed with statements like, I rarely express my anger to those close to me, were 70% more likely to experience increased carotid atherosclerosis, a
Mm-hmm.
cardiovascular plaque associated with higher risk of heart attack. Other studies have connected self-silencing to irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, and cancer.
Yeah.
So here we are
Mm-hmm.
with this anger in us, doing all the right things, but then when something happens, it wasn't because of the right things. It was because we never allowed ourselves to say, I'm just really pissed off. I'm really angry at the
Mm-hmm.
fact that my father wasn't there. I'm really angry at the fact that my mother beat me. I'm really angry at the fact that I needed someone there for me and they weren't there for me. And it's not to point the fingers at them, but it's for us to release that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's literally causing us issues. So I don't like to claim anything, but the doctors told me. The doctors told me I have an autoimmune condition. And it was discovered after I left my marriage. And it's very interesting that it is in my thyroid,
Mm.
right? And
Mm.
and when I look at the energetics of it and how much I didn't speak. When
Mm-hmm.
I think hey dad, if you ever watch this, because it's on my Facebook too. But I asked my father when I was with him a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I asked my mother once upon a time what I was like as a child. And she said, you were so obedient. Like you were just really the perfect child. Like I did nothing wrong. I followed every single rule. I was a joy to behold, the first child, the first grandchild, right? These were the accolades. I asked my father a couple of weeks ago, I said, do you remember what I was like as a child? And he said, I don't know. We controlled so much of what you did, of who you were. So there's no way to know what I was like as a girl because I was manufactured, right? And
Wow.
so right. And so do I, but that manufacturing, what happens is when you start to grow up and you are coming out into the world, to, like Carmel was saying, and it's kind of like, not only who am I, because I don't know, and then there's this rebellion that happens. There's this immense anger, and I was pissed at my parents as a teenager. I wasn't disrespectful, but I was pissed, and I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things. Had a lot of therapists, but I was pissed at my parents. I was very clear that I was angry with
With that,
them, and I loved them, and they were doing their best, right? However, I was pissed.
I want to say
And
something.
yeah, go
When,
ahead.
when some people are angry and they're pissed and they don't love their parents or the
Mm,
people anymore, and
and
I
that's
just
okay.
want to take a minute to say that's okay.
Yeah,
So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Please
yeah.
continue. I
No,
apologize for interrupting you.
and no, that's fine. And I'm glad you said that, because there's this thing, like my mother always had this thing, well, they're family. And I was like, I don't know what you think that is supposed to mean for me. She's like, well,
No,
the blood is thicker than water.
no, ma'am.
And I'm like, I won't put all my mother's business out there, but like, these are some of the people that did things to you that when I hear them, I'm just like, oh, that's a hell no. And you want me to just be smiley because we have connected DNA?
No.
I think that puts us at a detriment, especially as Black women, because we will end up bending over backwards to try to make sure everyone else is happy. And what happens to us? We end up with fibromyalgia. And doctors are like, we have no idea where this came from. And I'm over here like, she needs to get fucking pissed. She's
That's
depressed. No, she's really angry and doesn't want it to come out. But she's anxious. She's got anxiety. No, she's really mad and sad, but she doesn't know what to do with it. So she's trying to keep it down at the same time. It's trying to come out at the same time. No, she needs to express herself.
So I have.
Oh, go ahead, Carmel. Please go.
No, okay. Very quickly. I have a client who's been doing all the right things. She lost all kinds of weight, and she's like, "Look at me." And she's like, "I feel lighter." She's an older woman, not walking with a cane anymore, all the things. And yet, why is she now in and out of the hospital, in and out of doctor's offices? Carmel, I have hypertension. Where did that come from? I don't know. Carmel, I have this, like all these things. And now it's like, again, she's an older woman, so she's like semi-retired, but most of her time is spent in the doctor's office. And just talking to her, I hear anger. Her husband was taken away from her before she was ready, and she was in love with her husband. And like, I know she's angry and so sad. Like, she's really suffering from literally a broken heart, and she's not verbalizing it. And one day I sat with her trying to get her to say it, and she just sat there retrospectively, tears in her eyes. It was a very dramatic scene. But Maisha, I see the manifestation of that, even with people who, like, they want to lose the weight, they lose the weight, but still they're not happy. Something's going on. What's happening? And it's that anger that you're talking about. It's that sadness, those feelings that we trap inside. And they got to do something. They got to move around, but they're now stagnant, and they're seeping and just kind of like really soiling everything around you. And it gets it's really sad. And to think that we are silenced, that we cannot voice ourselves. The phrases like "get over it," or "you're still angry about that." You still carrying that around with you? What's going, like,
You're so
what's the problem?
sensitive. That's one I get. You're
So
so
sensitive.
sensitive. I'm like, I'm not sensitive. I know it's
Jackie says it sits in our gut.
It sits in our gut.
It
It sits in all of our organs. It sits in all the organs. And I remember as a child being told explicitly, fix your face.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that anger that I see? Did what I just say make you mad? Well, you said it to make me mad. You took my toys away. You told me I couldn't do the things I want to do, and you don't want me to be mad about it. Like, what? Like, I'm not gonna be skipping around. Yay, mom won't let me do what I want to do. And it's really interesting, the psychology of it all.
You see how you see how in a way it sets up Black women to like accept the least.
Yes.
Right? Because you something that naturally makes a human angry. Like, it's a 4-year-old, it's a 5-year-old. No one's actually, like, parents don't know. A lot of parents don't know how to explain stuff, right? So, again, you take the toy away because the purpose is obedience. And you need obedience because for us, if there was no obedience, that was death. Right? So if you're not obedient, that slave catcher, that white man, those people over there. So I need you to be obedient so you stay alive. Now, even though we don't, for the most part, live in that anymore, there's still the idea. Now we think, oh, that's just how we're raised. No, it comes from something. So I need you to be obedient. I'm going to take your toys away. Natural human reaction. I'm going to cry. I'm sad. I don't understand. And it's not like a parents are sitting and going, let me explain to you why I took the toys. Let me teach you the lesson behind it so you understand what's going on here. No, child reacts. Now parent is pissed because they weren't allowed to do that either. They're feeling some kind of way. I need you to stop doing that immediately. I'm either going to hit you or I'm going to do something. I don't want to hear it or see it. Now child is really confused.
Yeah.
I was angry at something. Now, when we're women and we're in these relationships and man does something, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right.
It's become a joke.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's been in like what, half of every movie ever made.
Every Tyler Perry movie. Every
He
Tyler
tipped
Perry.
her off. She's nothing. I'm fine.
And
we've made this a joke. It's not funny.
Right. And
what
Jackie
makes
says,
me
then we get to
mad-
the workforce and we're the angry Black women. Go
And we're
ahead,
the
Carmel.
angry Black women. You
Yeah,
know?
and what makes me mad is every time somebody says, "What's important to you in a relationship?" Communication, but you're not communicating. We're not communicating.
And let's talk about the multi-generational thing, because y'all know I'm living that life. My whole damn family, all the biddies are mad because I let the boy tell me what he does or doesn't like. Because again, or when he's stomping his foot, all I tell him is, don't mess up my floor. You get to be mad, but you don't get to mess up my floor. Go be mad in your room. Go mess up your floor. You know, but if you're unhappy, be unhappy. If you've got
Shelly, before you move on from that, I remember being a child, seeing other children express their anger and thinking, how are they not being beat right now? Like,
and you're alive.
and you're alive? You're showing anger towards your parents and
Girl.
you're alive? Like you don't have any bruises on you?
So I'm gonna apologize. And you mother will know who I am. You will know that I'm talking to you. I came home a long time ago, Carmel. I came home from McDonald's, seething, angry, mad, because little Bobby was screaming at his mother. I wish so short these babies would. I wish that boy was talking to me like that. I would knock him upside his head. Have the mouth just. And what do I have? I got my own mouth. And you don't know what you don't know until you are walking in someone else's shoes and until you're trying. Because where I get mad at my mother is when I'm trying to tell him if he doesn't want sugar and if he doesn't want it, don't soothe him with sugar. If he's got something to say, let him say it. Let's teach him how to say it. You know, he should not be disrespectful, but he should be communicating. Let's teach him how to be in a good communication, in a relationship that has good communication now. But don't tell him that if he disagrees with you, he's wrong. Those things make me mad because I know that's what was taught to her. I know that's what was taught to me. And I've decided that I am not going to teach him that.
And that part there, go ahead, Shelley.
No, I was going to say that I just want to apologize because I do it every now and then. This is going to be everywhere. To you who is handling your child, if I ever came at you or one of my people who did not own a child and didn't know nothing about raising no babies, if we opened our big fat mouth and shared an opinion with you that was unfounded, I am apologizing for all of us. We did not know what we were talking about.
You know, I read I still have them. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books on
Everything.
children, yes, and psychology of children and all of that, because I wasn't sure what to do. And really what I was thinking, and Jackie said, you know, that it's sick to think that you couldn't be angry, but that's how we were taught, right? And she says, my niece is raising her children to communicate and my mother doesn't understand, but me and my sister are so happy that she's breaking that foolishness. Yes. So when my children were little, I knew that they were children, but I knew that they were going to spend most of their lives as adults.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, okay, they need to know how to communicate, right? Yeah. Like I didn't have the best communication skills. My parents didn't have the best communication skills. My ex-husband didn't have the best communication skills because we weren't allowed to communicate, because the only thing that was allowed for me as a child was happy, not too much. Right. happy and joyful, and that was pretty much it, right? So sadness and anger and all that, not so much allowed. So I gave my children space to feel those things. And one of the reasons why is this makes me think of, because when we become adults, then we come up with these coping mechanisms to deal with the stuff that we weren't able to deal with, right? And I was thinking about Carmel, your client. One of the coping mechanisms that we come up with is food. And when you take the coping mechanism away, whether it's food or alcohol or TV, all of the stuff that was buried beneath the food starts to come to the surface. So that's why it's like they'll say, if you're healing, you'll get sick. So if you do a fast or a detox, you'll get sick because now stuff is coming up. So if you've been stuffing all these emotions down, but now you're eating healthy and you end up with hypertension, it's because the stuff that you never dealt with is still coming to the surface to be dealt with. And now the stuff you were using to hold it at bay doesn't exist anymore. And I wanted to try and minimize. I said minimize because there was no perfection here. Okay. There are coping mechanisms in my home, but I wanted to try to minimize it. And even with the children who have coping mechanisms that I may not always agree with, there's a level of self-awareness that they have around the fact that this is a coping mechanism and that there are other things that are going on underneath, as opposed to I'm just somebody who's stuffing their face and really has no idea why, or I'm mindlessly scrolling because I think I'm bored, but I don't realize that I'm connecting that to just getting off the phone with my mother or father who just berated me. And I'm so used to it, though, that I just jump off and just start scrolling as a way to self-soothe.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That self-soothing conversation. That's another one where they're telling us to leave our children, and I want to try my best to stay on topic, but you've got to leave them to cry so they can self-soothe. And it's so my child is crying, and yes, he's got to learn how to regulate his emotions, but that's not going to happen for years. I don't. So you were telling me to let my child self-soothe. All the child knows is that mommy's not coming, mommy's abandoning me,
That's right.
mommy's not here, I'm scared, I'm lonely, I'm hurt, and she won't come. She on the other side looking at me, woman, what's wrong with you? Don't
That's
you hear
right.
me crying? You know, there's so many layers, and while everything is different in each corner, each home, it's still something to me where I feel like having these conversations, being able to think about it when this chat is over, whether I'm looking at 4-year-old me, 14-year-old me, 24-year-old me, I want to still be able to say what happened when, and can I forgive you? And I, of course I can forgive. I
Mm-hmm.
also still want to know why. Like, I saw a string the other day where people were talking about the college counseling and how in the Black community, you go into the white community and they're grabbing Bobby and Sue by the hands, filling the paperwork out with them. And I remember my dad sending me to the counselor, and the counselor said, "Oh, you don't need to do any of this. Just go to the county college around the corner, and you'll be fine." And I gave him home, and my father's like, "Are your applications in?" "No, Daddy, they're not." She didn't help me, and that man just knew it was me. That's on the list of things we got to discuss. That what my I told you so, and it's well, I pay my taxes, and they're supposed to do it. You go around there, and I was applying to Rutgers. Rutgers has all these schools. I didn't know the difference between the schools. That was all I needed to know, was which school to apply to. And again, her flat thing was, just go around this corner to county. That's good enough for you. You'll do fine there. That was a really big moment for me, where it's like, I'm telling you, oh man, can you come to school with me? Can you call the counselor? And he
Right.
just left me there because he decided that I must just be being difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to listen to our kids or investigate what they say. And later on, when I was in school and I had issues, They started to listen to me later, but we don't have do-overs on some of these things.
Yeah.
And I only graduated from high school once. It's not like we could go back. There's no do-over. It's done wrong. And
Mm.
the missing an opportunity, or the fact that I got a grant, I got a scholarship to an HBCU and he wouldn't let me go. I'm mad at that man over all that stuff because he was just too selfish to keep me there. Or the fact that I needed financial aid. This is the judgmental thing about the families. We look into each other's families with a lens that is not clear, because
Mm.
people feel like I was in a good position. But my dad wanted me to pay for my own school. He wanted me to have that experience. He said, I'll pay for the first two and you got to handle the second two. But that you specifically, man, you should know that conversation about taxes. That man would not release me from his taxes. So, quick, dude, the people said you got to release me so that they can get me what I need to get, and I can get what I get if you stop getting what you getting. And that
Nope.
means that I'm not signing that. So everybody's sitting here thinking that I'm the spoiled little golden child, and I'm sitting here like, damn, I gotta scrape my nickels and dimes together, and I gotta uh, do a full load and two jobs to take care of, and some student loans to take care of school. And I'm like, yeah, dude, we gotta have a conversation. We need to revisit these things one day. So and I don't want closure. I want to just be able to look at that man in the eye and say that was a real bonehead move.
Sometimes that's all you need is a real bonehead move. The
That's
same
a
thing
real
happened to
bone.
me.
That was selfish. Don't sit here and tell me what I should do. What you should have had done was let the child be free. So my dad had a hang up on tax write-offs and all of that. That was a part of how
He
he
could at
felt
least give
about
you some of the
everything.
money then, Shelly. Like gave you the money from being independent so you can take care of your school bill, right? I can see that. Let me claim you. I'll give you some money.
It wasn't gonna be enough for me to pay for my school, but it's just on all of these things. When to get to your point, do we have permission to be mad at our parents? Are you mad at your parents? Is it okay to be mad at your parents? It don't matter if it's okay or not, because we talked about the babies and how they feel. You feel how you feel.
Right.
You time travel through whatever moment, and you feel how you feel. You felt how you felt then. You revisit it now, and maybe you've learned to manage those emotions, but you still feel that residual pain. And why shouldn't it be okay?
Mm, yeah. Carmel, you were gonna say something?
No, it's just hearing, the talk about even young children when they start to learn and explore their own feelings and how their parents shut it down quickly, right? And that's the part of the obedience thing. I remember when one of my cousins was a baby, just learning how to talk, and her parents did something to her and she says, "You hurt my feelings," as she's crying. And my mother was like, "Do you know what so and so said?" Little as she is, she said, "You hurt my feelings." Like she knows what that is. And
But
I'm
they
like,
Mm.
well, why would, like, yes, she's a baby and she's learning how to connect words to what she's actually feeling. Why wouldn't she know her feelings? Like, we are these spiritual beings that come to experience. So we're gonna know we're experiencing. And now she's learning how to communicate, and yet
Mhm.
she's being told, no, that's not right. That's not what you're feeling. And no, that's wrong. So I thought
And
that was,
I, I hope that happens less
Me too. And
for her.
and
yeah.
so yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that happen too, right? And so what that teaches young women is don't trust yourself.
Yep.
Wait for other people to tell you what to do because you're not right. You don't know. The people tell the kids that are like, you don't know. I know. And the kid is like, no, I really actually know this. But then they grow up not trusting themselves. And for women, that then again affects how we show up. We talk about entrepreneurs, right? I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't trust myself. I have self doubt. What if this? What if that? And some of that is very normal, but for us, it's exacerbated. Otherwise,
Yeah.
why are we only making $45,000, whereas Hispanic, Latina and white women and Asian women making far more than we are? Right? It's not because we're not intelligent. There's something else inside of us that keeps holding us back.
Yep.
So the last piece of the
I love
article just says that it may be time to stop being nice and self-silencing ourselves, because science seems to suggest that it is a matter of life and death. And I just wanted to list off some of the most common autoimmune diseases that exist. Interestingly enough, and I didn't know this, just seeing it on the list, vitiligo is an immune condition that Michael Jackson had, and we all know what he went through, and he's not the only one in his family who has it, right? Several of them are dealing with that particular autoimmune disease. Multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, I'm not going to read all of them, celiac disease, Graves' disease, Guillain-Barré, type 1 diabetes, inflammatory bowel syndrome, autoimmune myocarditis, alopecia, inflammation, just general inflammation is actually linked to your stress and your emotional levels, right? So, and these are things that as Black women, again, when we hold in our emotions, and and I like I said, I used our parents because in our community that's still like I see the younger folk are more willing to say, you know what, that ain't right, I'm not doing that. But those of us who are 45 and up, who are the last of that old guard, where your mother said so you just do what she said, your father said it, just like respect your elders turned into let them do whatever they can to you. It's almost as if the elders were treated poorly, and so now they got to a space where they could be in power and treat the other people poorly, and we were just supposed to take it. And those of us who were
like the
between
line.
45 and dealing with these health issues,
Yeah.
one of the reasons may be because we are not allowing ourselves to feel the anger, the sadness, the grief for some of the things that may have happened to us. And again, it's not about blaming people, but it's about us acknowledging our own feelings so that it's not stuck in ourselves, so that as we're on our health journey and want to live our best life, that we still don't end up with a heart attack and people going, I don't understand. She was
So
eating so
Maisha,
healthy. Yeah.
she was eating so healthy, right? She was doing all the
Right.
things. She's going to the gym. Look at her
Right.
body. And how
Right.
can right. So Maisha, what are some ways that you can tell folks? Okay, so I've acknowledged it. I've acknowledged that I've dealt with some trauma. I've always repressed my feelings and emotions and my anger. Now I've acknowledged it. I know that I have. I know that I have to release. How are some ways that I can do that, Maisha?
Come to me. No. So like literal somatic exercise. And somatic is just soma. Soma means the body. Y'all, it's people using fancy terms, but soma just means the body. And I encourage women to, when you're feeling something, excuse yourself. I need a moment, because we don't want to do that because we don't look bad, right? Our pride gets in the way. Excuse yourself. Go to some place where you can, and whether it's shake your body out. I know it's hard to scream. Shake your body out, stomp your feet, jump up and down, do some jumping jacks, let it move through your body. I told my daughter a story. She was just like, I cannot. I was so angry one day. I might have told this on here a couple weeks ago. I was so angry one day. There was so much, this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's so many different situations I had no control over. I was walking down the street. I could feel my chest tight. I could feel my throat tight. I needed to scream. I knew I couldn't do it on 6th Avenue. Like, can't do it on Avenue of the Americas. Cops going to be called. So I said, I was on my way to a doctor's appointment. When I get there, I'm going to go in the bathroom and scream. Thankfully, I got in the elevator by myself. And when I tell you, as soon as the doors closed, I was like, fuck, shit. And I was going to the 7th floor. So I had to get it out before I got there. Doors open, like, okay, I'm good now. But if I didn't do that, I knew it was going to be like like this in me for the rest of the day, and I knew that was going to affect my body. So definitely moving your body. I don't care if it's working out, just don't throw your weights, don't hurt yourself, don't lift too heavy, because we'll want to do
Walk.
that.
Do
Right?
you recommend
Go for, huh?
do you recommend walks?
Yes, I do recommend walking, but I feel like it needs to be brisk. Don't just be out there walking. Like the energy has to get pumped through the body.
Right.
And while you're
It has to get
walking,
moved out.
talk. I will talk while I'm walking. I will look like I got my AirPods on, but I'm having conversations to people and I'm cursing a motherfucker out. Like I'm letting it out, right? So I don't give it to them, but I'm getting the anger out so it doesn't sit inside of my body. So that's what I recommend. If you need to cry, cry. I will cry. Y'all have seen me. I will cry. I am not of the, because we were taught not to show that, not to let anybody know what was going on in your house or how you feel. I will cry. And that took me decades to be able to just cry. Like a
Mm,
tear might fall out, like that old commercial with the Native American. This
mm,
commercial is so stupid. A tear might come out, but I did not know how to cry. And so now yeah, there will be tears. My kids know I'll be in my bed and I will be sobbing. No story. I have no idea why I'm crying. See, that's the thing. I have no idea why I'm crying, but I just know that I need to cry. And we need to give ourselves space to do that so that these pent up emotions don't cause more illness in our body. Jackie said, I'm reading a book called Remember Who the Fuck You Are by Candace Love. That's actually a good one, Jackie. I need to get that. She was just saying, I want to scream. I've never done that. I must try. And sometime I will dance. I'm actually planning a way. Hey, Tyler. I'm actually planning some type of retreat. I don't know how it's going to be done yet, where I want to take Black women away. I've seen the memes, the white woman in the woods, they're beating stuff with the sticks.
mhm.
And I've seen women in the comments like, why would they go do that? And I'm looking at that like,
Oh,
that's
that,
exactly what we need to do.
That's fine.
but it's one
I've
thing
even
Absolutely.
to say, and it's when someone is doing something to you, say, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to me that way. I don't agree. I don't accept that. You know, these people around me right now are sick of my we're gonna just agree not to agree. They're tired of me. I'm like, no, I'm not going, I'm not coming, I'm not giving, I'm not accepting. Don't send it. I'm not opening it. I'm returning sender. Like they are sick of me. I don't want your energy. We are not aligned. You touched it. Since you touched it, I can only go wrap some sage around it and send it back. That is not welcome. And I'm being silly, but I feel like
Well,
the
that's
game
real.
changer has been me saying no to, I've said that before, no to what you're saying. No, I don't agree. Even if I go do it and people ask silly questions, do you feel like doing this for me? Do you mind doing this for me? No, I don't feel like doing it for you. Yes, I do mind that. I said, you asked me if how I felt. I answered you. You didn't ask me if I would do it. You didn't say, would you put, I need you to do it. So I'm being a lot more direct in my communication. And I find it to be
I
priceless.
love that. And it is important. And I love that. Hey, Zainab, I hope I said that right. She said crying makes wonders, but I get self-conscious if I get teary-eyed in front of people, not gonna lie.
Ooh, can
Hi, hey, from
that
overseas.
So remember the song, remember the old R&B, old school song, I'm gonna go outside in the rain so no one sees me
Yes,
crying.
oh,
Hey,
y'all go.
listen, whatever works, right? And I've
that's
even
right.
suggested scream into a pillow.
Yeah.
If you feel like you don't want to let it out in front of people, if there's children home or whatever, scream into a pillow. Take up some boxing or kickboxing lessons. Just
Yes.
let it out. Scream, punch that bag, do what you have to do. Um, I liked all of your suggestions, Maisha, and letting it out is. I remember one time my father pissed me off so bad. I had no idea what to do, where to go. I was still a young girl. I couldn't just like leave. And he walked out of my room, and screaming into that pillow was like a lifesaver. It just calmed me down and just said, Usta, okay, now you can kind of like get back into life, right? But yeah, that crying piece, and when you feel emotional, sometimes I feel emotional. I have no idea for what. I just like if you know, when you're in a place where it's not appropriate, you can't be in
Yeah.
a conference room in the middle of a meeting saying, I just feel like crying. I just wanted to let it out. But if you can, just let it out and then take a deep breath, and life goes on. It's actually a cleansing process, and it's beautiful.
Well, I
It
gotta share.
really is.
So it's cleansing, but I've told you guys this, but I'm gonna say it again. I ran into one of my cousins, and I was talking to her, and she just said something. We were just talking about support, and man, y'all, I got so many cousins on my father's side of the family. I can't name them. When I greet them, I just say hi. That's that's it. They know I don't know their names, and I don't try. I've been gone for too long, but it's one of those things where I told her something had happened and that I'd had a medical event, and it's, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing all this alone, and da da da. And I'm like, well, I'm alone, so people would do deal with things alone when they're alone. And we're having this whole Tyler Perry minute, and I started crying. I needed to. We were in the lobby at a conference, for Christ's sakes. There was only about 3 or 4 people in that corner, but I had my cry. I grabbed my tissue, and then I went and got this, and I was in the middle of my lobby. And she
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
she said, did you just, and she's looking at me. She said, you did not just sit here, have a whole cry, and pull out your poof. She said, now that's a diva move. She specifically said it's a Carter. She said, you are so a Carter. But I'm like, yeah, no. All right, we done let it out, but it's over. So,
Said, hey,
Yes,
Miss
ma'am.
Carter.
so whatever it is you need to keep on hand, this is my magic wand. This is my evidence, my reminder that I'm a girl. She goes almost everywhere with me. And I'm sorry if I gotta cry, if I gotta have a minute, I'm just gonna pull out my poof and what do they say, dust your shoulders off, since you're talking about the
Yeah.
Carters. No, we have to give each other permission to cry, but we got to give ourselves permission to cry. If it's
And
in there,
space.
it's got to come
That
out.
that part. That part. And we're gonna wrap it up because this is really good. But
It's a million and
I
one.
remember being at a funeral for my grandmother, my mother's mother. I was at the funeral
Mm.
and I was crying. One of my aunts came over to me, tapped me on the shoulders. My father's side of the family tapped me on my shoulder. Hey, 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 hey! Stop all that crying there. That's
Why?
at a
At
funeral.
a funeral.
That's
That
so
don't we
when I
all have
say like
that's
learning how
one
to
person
cry, that
versus yes.
hey, but and at the time I was so shocked and I fell in line, right? I because I that was the default. And it took me a while later on to realize it, but I also recognized that she grew up in a house where that was an absolute
Right,
no,
right.
right? So but the reason why this I brought up this topic is because I think it's really important that since as Black women, there's so much happening right now in the world. So much happening with the presidency,
Oh
so
God.
much happening, and we have a tendency to get really involved and really worked up, and we are such emotional people, even though we hold it in. I want to encourage us as women to allow ourselves to grieve more, to cry more. We don't know what's going to happen here. We're all entering brand new territory, but whatever it is, we need sisterhood. We need to lean on each other, and we need to allow ourselves to feel through everything. Our lives literally depend on it. People are taking out organs out of sickness, and really what it is that we just need to be angry and grieve and keep our uteruses and keep our thyroids and keep our breasts, but we need to allow ourselves to grieve. So to that end, thank you all for sticking around for this long version of Black Coffee, Honey, and Grits. And speaking of community and sisterhood. We are having an event November 9th, and it's going to be in New Jersey. In New Jersey, we are going to have continental breakfast. We are going to have catered lunch. It is for entrepreneurs and entrepreneur minded women, women who are ready to elevate their lives. It's a day full of activities and seminars. We are all teaching everything from business to your health to your mindset to your relationships. So it's holistic, because we're not just going to die. We're not here to diagnose. We're not just going to treat one part of you. As an entrepreneur, you're a whole entire human being, and everything in your life affects your money. So come join us. You can click the link there that's ticking across the screen, blackcoffeehoneyandgrits.com. I'm also going to put it, it's pinned on Instagram. I'm going to put it in the comments again. We would love to see you on November 9th, ladies, for this full day. It's just going to be a gorgeous event. We're very excited about it. Carmel, Shelly, is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
No, I think that I'm hoping we do more of this talking. As far as our event, I absolutely would love to look forward to seeing everybody there while we come together and make sure that we're being honest in that space, because what a gift to be together. But if we're not honest, then we
Mhm.
might not really pull out of it what we need. And sometimes and I'll keep going, but it's that thing where the professors eventually say, I know you have a question. I know one of you has a question. I know more than one of you has a question, but nobody wants to ask it. Asking your questions is good for you. And it's good for the person who's answering it. And it's going to be good for the person sitting next to you, because we all have similar, if not the same, we have similar needs. And I just am really, really excited for us to be together.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited too. Very much looking forward to it. You said that one word, be honest, right, Shelley? And I think just to tie into what we've been talking about for the last hour or so, it's that honesty to self too. Because if we're not honest about the anger that we're feeling within us, how are we ever going to let it out, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like be honest with yourselves. It's just you and you. It
Yeah.
is so important. But Maisha, such a good conversation. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to November 9th for sure. Every time we get together, and when we get together with Black women, oh my God,
Yeah.
nothing like it.
But we're level.
Nothing like it. Nothing like
You know,
it.
you know what I want to tell you? You we were talking about it. My dad used to always tell me, because apparently I've been holding stuff in since I was a tween. And he used to tell me, you can lie to everyone else but yourself and God. And I want to share that here. You can lie to yourself. You can lie to God. Yeah, no, you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to you can lie to everyone but yourself and God. You can lie to everyone in the room, but not God and not your inside voice. You know the truth. And Maisha's letting us know that it's not healthy for us to keep that in. So thank you for that, Maisha.
You're welcome. And later this week, I will talk about other ways that are way more fun for you
Mm.
to feel through your body. Work
I
through some of
believe
it.
you. I'm here for it all.
We'll talk about that a little later in the week. And, I mean, the orgasms are certainly in there, but we'll talk about that maybe Friday for Lover's Day, Venus Day. All right, y'all. Join us next time. We'll be back here Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We would love it if you would head over to YouTube where all the replays are. Of course, click subscribe. Of course, click like. Of course, go ahead and share the videos. Rana, now you have to wait till Friday, but we're glad to have you back. We will see you Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Have a great Monday, y'all. Bye.